Good morning and a special good evening to some of our guests. We hope you've enjoyed the UAGC Culture of Care sessions you have attended so far. I am Dana Dillard, Program Chair of the Bachelor's, Master's, and Doctoral Programs of Psychology here at the University of Arizona Global Campus, and co-host of the Leadership Supported Chair sessions along with Dr. Dan Augusto, who's Program Chair for the Bachelor's in Homeland Security and Emergency Management. We are pleased to welcome you to this series of sessions looking at care through an organizational lens of leadership sponsored by the College of Arts and Sciences and facilitated by the UAGC Department of Behavioral Sciences. Our next session is Respecting the Dynamics of Organization and Vendor Relationship. Some of you here may know our speakers, so please use the chat to join me in welcoming Dr. Michelle Rosser-Majors, Tricia Lauer, Stuart Vinorni, and Jitendra Kondakar.
Thanks so much, Dana. Really appreciate both yours and Dan's work on the summit. So we hope all the attendees are enjoying the session so far and enjoy this session and are able to gain some knowledge about strategies that can be used by practicing purposeful respect through a culture of care lens to create effective and respectful relationships between vendors and organizations. Although it is to have healthy vendor organizational teams, it is so important to have these type of relationships to have a culture of care. Our presentation, Respecting the Dynamics of the Organization and Vendor Relationship, Strategies, Stories, and Success. So although aspects of what we will share today truly weave into one another, when we look at the 5 pillars of culture of care, communicate, advocate, respect, empower, and for our organizations, our why, student-centeredness, we have chosen to focus on the importance of respect between vendor and organizational stakeholders to cultivate effective outcomes and a positive experience with continual growth experienced by all. Respect in our setting includes functions of each person and team, the levels of expertise by each person, the intentions of each person and the teams, and lastly, the diverse cultures and experiences that we all have. I'll now hand it over to Tricia and Stuart as they share how the beginning of this journey started.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Hello, everyone. A little bit about how you might be wondering how this vendor relationship came to be. And I'd like to share a little bit of the history of that. We had received a lot of feedback over time from faculty about the need to rethink our curriculum development process and to ensure that the elements of our course design were aimed at improving student outcomes, whether that be retention, persistent, relevance in the workforce, and the things that they need to be successful in their personal and professional endeavors. And we really recognized that there was an opportunity for us to make a shift so that what we were creating in our courses was truly owned by our faculty and in the best interests of our students based on a variety of metrics, including student learning outcomes data. Student feedback was also a very important piece in this. And we knew that we had an opportunity to engage with a vendor who could support us in reaching those goals. Stu?
Thanks, Tricia. Yeah, this is what LearningMate does. So we help build courses for colleges and universities across the country. And so when we were starting our relationship with UAGC about a year and a half ago, it was in the spirit of trying to figure out what you all needed, what UAGC wanted in terms of elevating their courses, making them better, making sure that they adhere to instructional design standards. But like you said, how do we improve that student experience? How do we improve the experience with the faculty who are developing these courses? So it was really with this, in this spirit that we got together and started with workshops and really sort of define our relationship, intentionally define our relationship.
Next slide, please. Stu alluded to the building blocks, kind of the foundation of our partnership. And really our goal in the initial phase was to build a relationship and really going back to the tenets of the culture of care, because at the end of the day, in order to be successful, we really felt like relationships were the key. So thinking about communication and being student-centric and advocacy. In the beginning, we had 3 weeks of what we call a virtual retreat. And really, we were engaging in the spirit of inclusivity. We had about 80 stakeholders from both UAGC, representing faculty and staff, both within academics and outside of academics, as well as stakeholders from LearningMate, where we had an opportunity to dialogue about where there were strengths, where there were areas of opportunities, and where we saw the greatest need. And I felt like those conversations were extremely powerful. And from that, not only were we able to determine our 4 areas of focus for course development, which included sparking student engagement, developing critical thinking, creating a community of learners, and demonstrating workplace and real-world relevance, but we also really laid the foundation for ensuring that the process was also enjoyable for all stakeholders involved in curriculum developments. Stu?
I think that's so key because we focus a lot on the deliverables, what the product that we're going to create, the course itself, but that the process and the relationship building was incredibly important. So I think it was even Michelle, I think early on, you were the one who started calling them uplifts, right? Rather than redevelopments or course developments, because that's really was the spirit of what we were doing with the UAGC courses, right? We were lifting them up, but not only with the courses themselves, but the students and the faculty. So I love the idea of using this positive language. So we've been calling them uplifts for 1.5 years now. One of the other things that we started doing very early on, we started to do about 10 pilots to start off with, 10 pilot courses. And we created this culture of continuous improvement, but we didn't just do it, we said it out loud. Every chance we talked about this idea of continuous improvement, which is basically the culture of care. So we knew going into the pilots, we were going to make a lot of mistakes. We were going to improve upon those, but we weren't going to point fingers. We were going to figure out what was going wrong and then fix it. So throughout this entire time, I will say it's been an amazing relationship, an amazing experience from the LearningMate perspective, because we established this culture of continuous improvement and culture of care from the start, very intentionally. And I don't know, Trisha, you want to talk about the goals that we set, or?
Sure. Just a little bit about our goals. We did establish that we were going to engage in 150 uplifts per year. And this is comprised of courses from all 3 colleges, the School of General Studies, College of Arts and Sciences, and the Forbes School of Business and Technology. And we looked at a variety of factors to determine where the greatest need was. And we even had some programs that engaged in large-scale course revisions, including the Master of Public Health and the Master of Accountancy. And so it's been a really powerful journey. And one thing I'd like to mention that Stu shared is we have engaged in continuous improvement over the last about 18 months. And it's been a real powerful process because we're able to take feedback from faculty, from staff working on the course uplifts, and really having those dialogues and conversations with LearningMate about how to best support the process. Next slide.
Thank you. So thank you, Trisha and Stuart. So where we landed, and I think why it's important to talk about this is, again, going back to what you've probably heard throughout the summit, is to get to that purposeful culture of care place, you have to be purposeful, intentional, be engaged in the process. You can't sit in the back lines and do things. So, you know, we went through first weekly meetings, monthly meetings with leaders, and trying to make sure, because this was a change for both our organization as well as some of their instructional designers and project managers working with a group like us. And so it was very intentional that we needed to make sure all voices were heard. And as we all know, when you include all voices, that can get lengthy and it can be challenging at times, messy. I think I saw Trisha's mouth move, but it's important. And it's important to do. So now where we've landed is, you know, we actually bring in our course experts, our course leads, all of the LearningMate experts over there, all of our resource specialists, all together into a place weekly. Now, not everyone has to attend weekly, but everyone has that invite so that people can jump in and be of support, and everyone's connected throughout that process, which differs depending on the level of uplift, whether it's a new course, different things like that. And all of that has been strategically analyzed to make sure that we're giving every person on these teams enough time to get what they need done to make this a success. So again, yes, it can be messy, but we have to look at through that lens of respect of what every stakeholder needs, because going back to what is our goal? Well, it's to make sure our students have the best opportunity to gain knowledge, skills, expertise, competency, self-efficacy to move forward in their lives. So we also have monthly meetings with our curriculum teams and leaders. We still have quarterly meetings with assistant deans, with LearningMate. We're constantly connected with this group who, quite frankly, in my opinion, has kind of become family to us. We also document what our outcomes after courses have gone live. Did it improve our student success, opportunities learning? Are our faculty enjoying teaching those classes more? So it's so exciting, but it's very purposeful. And then I'm gonna talk about the last one, because to me, going back to what everyone has said so far, relationships is really what's probably made the difference. I adore my LearningMate colleagues, I truly do. And we celebrate one another and our diverse cultures. So not only do we celebrate with our LearningMate companions who some are from India, they celebrate with us. And so I just wanted to highlight a few of their Happy Diwali photos they had shared with us and their celebrations. And I was talking to them before we started, how exciting they had their festival of colors this week. And they also celebrate with us. So getting to a place where you can be a successful culture of care, you have to be purposeful in so many areas and create that room of respect for one another and what everyone does.
Thank you, Dr. Majors. Okay, and then I know most of you on the call, so a big hello. Okay, so I think I will use an analogy of a newborn baby. So we are into the 21st month. Starting April will be the 21st month of our relationship. So usually a newborn baby starts walking somewhere around 12 to 14 months, okay? And that the process of walking is primarily on the trust that the baby has on the parents. In our case, that's how the relationship has been in the start of 10, 12 months and then up till now. It's the trust that the UAGC had in LearningMate, which has helped us to come so far and helped us to walk this path that we have walked so far. Okay, while we know how to do this, but then accommodating getting adapted to the terms that UAGC team, the faculties are comfortable. That's what Tricia, Dr. Majors and other assistant deans have helped us to. Okay, one of the things is like Dr. Major said a couple of minutes back, that there are many teams that were involved, the assessment specialists, of course the instructional designers, faculties, but then the media team, the development team, okay, the Canvas production team, the LTech team. Respecting all this, the availability, the time zones of all these people, and still building a quality output is something that what we have achieved only because we had that respect for each of these functions. And then that's where you would see that humility is also been listed on the slide that you are seeing. Again, in the first year that we had, I think everyone had a same approach, that we all will focus on the solutions and not the problems. Okay, and that is the approach which helped us to even own the mistakes. Okay, because we faltered, we had certain mistakes done during our development process, especially in the first year of it. Okay, one of them was the document quality, but then we worked very closely with UAGC, got our documentation updated. In fact, UAGC also went back and updated their piece of documentation. and that again has helped us to bring our quality to the next level. Okay, and there are many things, like as we learn, we have been improving, relooking at the process, and we have been improving our processes, because I think, like a couple of minutes back Stu said, it's a continuous improvement process that we have been following. And one of the things that we did was, like an example that is on the screen, is we have added assistant deans review, and primary reason for that was so that initially those reviews were happening at the fag end of the development cycle, but then bringing them up on the cycle has helped us to catch some of the issues which they usually catch during the fag end, and allow them more time to fix those issues as well. And what we have done so far is, in terms of numbers, it's huge. So overall we'll be doing 500 plus courses, but then right in first year we have delivered, developed, completed 150 courses, another 200 odd in the second year, out of which we have already touched around 130 odd courses. Again, first time right, it's basically how many courses are getting passed in the LTech QA without any comments, and those numbers, as and when we have been progressing, are being staggeringly far good. And it's, at the end of the day, it's something that is allowing LTech team to even spend less time on their QAs and all that. Again, 1200 plus media pieces being developed in this 200 plus courses. I will hand it over to Tricia to talk about the course learning outcomes.
Thank you, Jitendra. One thing that's very exciting and probably not unexpected is that we do track data to show the impact of our course revisions. And later on today, my team and I are going to share more data about our course revisions as it supports educational effectiveness. But do want to share, and many of you are familiar with our rating scale for our rubrics, is a scale from 0 to 4. It's a 5-point scale. And where we've been tracking pre and post revisions, on average, we're seeing a 0.54 increase in student learning outcomes achievement. So it's very exciting to see the fruits of our collective labor and how that's making a positive impact in student learning, which is ultimately our goal. Next slide. And so some of our key takeaways that we've already alluded to, but really want to highlight the third piece is you've heard us talk about communication and the work that we're doing. And at the end of the day, we always go back to our why, which is our students, and making sure that what we're creating and envisioning in our course uplifts is going to make sure that students achieve their goals. And really working with one another and realizing that at the end of the day, if we do have differences or differences of opinion, that it's more about coming to the table with a solution and how we can work together to arrive at that. And definitely have been really focusing on celebrating the wins and celebrating one another throughout this process. We know sometimes it's a hard road to take when you're working towards something, and there's a lot of folks at the table to support the course uplifts, but really ensuring that what we're doing is in the best interest of our students and that we're working together to achieve a goal. Sounds kind of corny to say, but there is no I in team in this particular case. Stu?
That's such a great point, Tricia. And honestly, it is hokey, but there's a lot of love with the UAGC and LearningMate teams. And Michelle alluded to that earlier. Like, there's such respect, and we love working on this. And one of the things, and that was intentional, right? Like that's, I think, one of the major takeaways is that when we entered into this project, and when every instructional designer enters into a course development, we go in with the idea of like, how can we help? What is our support? Like, what can we do to make this the best experience possible? And even when there's issues, we said to ourselves, how do we want to act, right? How do we want to address these issues? So it's, again, working one-on-one with the people with the issues, and then trying to find solutions. And that last one is so important, celebrate one another. So I actually want to take this opportunity to thank you, Tricia, and thank you, Michelle, for making this project amazing. to work on. And here's to another year and a half and hopefully longer after that relationship. So thank you very, very much.
Well, we can't thank you all enough. And I just can't personally express how, again, for any organization hearing this message, this is just not about education. This is about the relationship organizations have with their vendors. And too often we hear very negative stories, and they don't have to be that way. And the more effective you work with your vendors and with your organizations and truly learn how to care and understand one another, it makes a difference on the quality of service you provide. So we encourage you to take heed to this message, to be purposeful, to be patient, to be humble, and to learn to care about all teams involved in your organizations.
What an incredible example of living care with communication and respect in vendor relationships and throughout organizations. Fantastic information, and I'm so glad that you shared your story with us. It's been very moving to hear the behind the scenes pieces that maybe we don't all get all the time. So thank you so much for sharing that. We would love to open up to questions if there are any in chat. Dan, if you would feel comfortable jumping in with those. But I did have one that I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to dive into the idea of working internationally. That can be a challenge. What strategies do you think has worked for your teams the best so far?
I think respect for those time zones. I'd love to hear perspectives of LearningMate, because they are the ones, like right now, they're at almost 10 o'clock at night. But that respect of time zones, we have people that work in Hawaii and different places. So our time zones are all over the place. And I would personally, at least from my perspective and working with faculty and some of their project managers, is just that respect and understanding for our time zones and our cultures as well.
Well said, Michelle. I agree.
I would add too that we, even early on, sort of set expectations for communication and collaboration in terms of when to send emails, when to send meeting invites and things of that nature, so that people aren't waking up in the morning with a meeting invite that's happening right now, that kind of thing. So definitely setting those expectations and sort of working together to figure out what each team needs, and then allowing flexibility to modify that as we move forward.
Jared, I think that what you just said to me, it just rang offering grace. And I think we just, throughout the process, offer grace for the very diverse things that we encounter in this, because we've been a success at this working with you. So thank you.
I was struck by the theme of intentionality throughout the whole thing. And I guess I'm curious, where do you see that going in the coming year? Do you have anything different that you really want to be deliberate about how you approach it?
I think Dan, thank you for that question. I think we're always looking for ways to continuously improve. And as an example, Jennifer Zauer, our Director of Learning Solutions, sent out a survey to our assistant deans just last week asking for feedback on the process to ensure that we're continuously being mindful of the needs of both the UAGC stakeholders as well as LearningMate. And as you know, Dan, because you've participated in several uplifts, it can be challenging trying to ensure that there's one process with some wiggle room, but for every course development, because we do have a very structured system for our courses. And so trying to find that balance between expectations for all and how do we make sure that we're accommodating the individual needs, because that too is part of culture of care.
I love that idea of intentionality. We're looking at the last couple seconds here in the presentation time slot. So if there's any questions or comments, please share them in the chat. We'll be sure to relay them on to our wonderful presenters here. I want to extend a big thank you to Michelle, Tricia, Jitendra, and Stuart for your time today and for your wonderful insights. As we're concluding this presentation, respecting the dynamics of the organization and vendor relationship. A thank you to all of our viewers for joining us as well. We hope you have found this conversation inspiring. We will be posting the next sessions in the chat for your benefit. Once again, on behalf of the Department of Behavioral Sciences and the University of Arizona Global Campus, thank you, and please have a great day.